Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. I'm Catherine Llewellyn, your host, and my beautiful guest today is Queen Michele, who's here to talk about a whole number of fascinating things. But we're going to kick off with talking about rebelliousness, which Queen has a particular connection with. I also have a connection with rebelliousness, but hers is a very particular one. And you can find Queen at fulaamerican.org, which is FULA American.org. And let me say a little bit about Fula. Queen Michele is an author, blogger, and creator of 52 Insights for Generation Alpha, a conscious curriculum, and founder of Fula History and Genealogy Society in America, which is a nonprofit. Her curriculum is specifically designed for 7th to 9th grade students of Generation Alpha and focuses on self-awareness through activities that foster mindfulness, self-management, relationship skills, social awareness, and conscious decision-making. I wish we'd had that when I was at school. So, Queen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. So would you like to kick off by sharing with the listeners a little bit of your story in relation to rebelliousness? When did this first show up in your life as a live theme?
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much. As it relates to rebelliousness, there would not be a 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum, without the rebelliousness that probably has been in me since I was young. However, it truly manifested when I retired. When I retired from teaching elementary, middle school students, 27 years, and I retired back in 2015. Now, when I first retired, I took a look at my pension and I said, oh, wow, okay, that'll pay the rent. And so I took that first year and I was doing different types of what we call side hustles to supplement the pension. So I became, get this, an Uber driver and a Lyft driver. I did some online teaching for in China, for children in China. I also did some curriculum design, remote work. One of my favorite jobs, though, was a shuttle driver for a transportation company that serviced the railroad. I was taking conductors and engineers to and from their trains. And hey, having a ball that first year, especially after being regulated by bells, right? A bell to start the day, a bell to eat lunch, a bell to end the day, 27 years. So here I am that first year being retired, supplementing my pension. But I tell you, and after that first year, that rebelliousness kind of rose up with me with this type of question I asked myself, which was, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to always have to do this. I'm going to always have to work to supplement my pension. It will never be enough. And I didn't want to be 70 years old saying, welcome to Walmart. And I saw all of my comrades out there doing those side jobs like I was. They were at the airports. They were Uber drivers. They were in retail. They were in restaurants. Hey, we're out here, not because we want to be, but because we have to be. And rebelliousness said to me, hey, let's research where we can find somewhat, the top 10 places to truly retire. And with that, I started researching. And at that time, I'm talking 2015, it was Panama and Costa Rica and Nicaragua and Ecuador, Thailand, Mexico. And Mexico, there were a few, Colombia, a few others. Mexico checked all the boxes for me, though. At the time I was living in Atlanta, it was the area that I researched was 3.5 hours straight nonstop flight into Lake Chapala. This Lake Chapala area It's the largest lake in the country of Mexico. And surrounding that lake are little towns and villages. And on the North Shore, the largest expat community in the country of Mexico. Expat being, of course, expatriate, those who are citizens of one country but reside in another. So I did research. I'm an avid researcher, and I landed very softly in 2017 in the Lake Chapala area of Jalisco, Mexico. And hey, that rebelliousness is what led me to my purpose. Because once I landed there, I'm telling you, I had an opportunity to discover me, discover, when I say purpose, just through meditation and through hiking in the beautiful mountains and absorbing and sitting by that gorgeous lake, and meditation and yoga and just quieting all the distractions of what kept me on the wheel. Uh, I started a brand called Considerations of the Soul. I started writing books. One of my first ones was Considerations, a guide for moving abroad. Uh, then came The Road to Well-Being. Then came Traveling Home Together and the workbook that went with it. And then my favorite was 52 Insights. Get this, 52 Insights for Living New Earth Now. Now, I can author those books because I consider myself a light worker, a way shower, a frequency code holder, and a New Earth representative. New Earth just meaning not a place, but a state of consciousness. And I would not have reached that and then been able to turn that back outward to even teach without the rebelliousness of leaving the state in the United States and coming off of that wheel. Because I could have easily, Llewellyn, like so many others, just stayed on the wheel, But with that, I only would have been working to pay bills. Work, pay bills. Work, pay. There would be no weekend getaways or no fine dining or concerts or anything like that. I would work, pay bills until I couldn't work any longer, just due to age and and health. And then I would live substandardly because I wasn't working. And again, it was that rebelliousness that said, hey, I don't owe anyone or anything my life. Rebelliousness.
Beautiful. I remember you saying that in the prequel as well. I don't owe anyone or anything my life.
It's mine.
It's yours. And how many of us forget that?
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
Yeah, bless you for remembering that, because you're now a way shower, as you say. You are now inspiring other people. I think just anyone listening to this or any of the other shows that you've been on, just reminding people, you don't have to just stay in the trap. You can actually say, maybe I can do something else.
Absolutely.
But you didn't just sit there waiting for someone to show up and tell you what you could do. You did the research and did the work.
Absolutely. The research, the work, but that stepping away gave me an opportunity to hear within, the internal within. I am a true believer that any and everything you ever wanted to know about anything is within. It's within. And listening to that quiet voice, I call it the soul self. That's what leads, guides, and directs. And again, 52 Insights for Gen Alpha. And I don't know, you probably heard, I said 52 Insights for Living New Earth Now.
Yeah.
See, that was the original title. And I was in the Lake Chapala area for 4 years. And I was getting ready. I had my books, my brand, And I was getting ready to conduct an 8-month workshop. Uh, it was going to be every third Saturday of the month from 10 to 3. I had called in the gurus from around Lakeside, the guru in meditation, the guru in art, one in movement. It was going to be based on my books, and it was going to be entitled The Soul's Journey, right? I gave a presentation. I had a beautiful facility that was offered to me for this. Um, I gave a presentation. People signed up, and I got the call. That my parents, my pop at the time was 99 with dementia. My mom was in her mid 80s, and they were back home. I'm born and raised in Detroit, and they had both fallen and left the house via ambulance within a week of each other. When I arrived home, they were both in a rehabilitation center. He was on one end of the hallway and she was on the other. When they were to leave that rehabilitation center, there was no one truly to care for them. So all of that workshop, my books, all of that, I put to the side. And I became my parents' full-time caregiver. So I'm back in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, 3.5 years and 4 consecutive winters. Now, mom and pop, they passed away in 2022. Within 10 months of each other. Pop in February and mom on New Year's Eve. And here I am, I'm still, in my hometown in Detroit. And it was my niece's birthday. I'll tell you how perfect the universe is, and how when we step out and when we trust that inner voice, it will lead and guide, it will bring all the cooperating components together for your purpose here. Anyway, it's my niece's birthday. And remember, 52 Insights for Living New Earth Now was just sitting there along with the rest of the books. It had been. I put it down. I looked at it. I said, I'm going to give this to my niece for a birthday. Bottle of wine and a candle, so here you go, niece. Happy birthday. She thumbed through it and she said, oh, auntie, she said, this would be great for high school. Now, she's among other things, a girls basketball coach. High school basketball coach. And it kind of hit me like a little shot. I was like, you're right. It's sitting there. Sure would. I mean, and it's golden. I know the content is rich and meaningful and impactful. And I talked to another relative who's also an administrator and a retired teacher, and she said, oh no. She said, that's perfect for middle school. And I mean, talk about lights going off and explosions taking place within me. But, and I'm like, wow. But here's the thing. Who is middle school? Who is middle school right now? I mean, I have been retired for years. I didn't know who middle school again, who middle school was. So there I go. Research, deep dive into middle school, and discovered that those who are in middle school right now are Generation Alpha. And let me tell you a little bit about Generation Alpha because I took a deep dive.
Please do, yes.
Generation Alpha was born between 2010 and 2024. The oldest of that generation just turned 13 last year. They are the children of the millennials and some of the X's who got in there a little late. They are the first generation to be born fully in the 21st century. This means, Wellen, that they have been clicking and swiping since infancy. They are now in spaces and on platforms that is free from parental influence. They are in spaces and in platforms that their parents don't even understand. And I get it. They are a different breed. They will be the largest generation in the history of the world. And they are responsible, get this, for the conscious evolution of humanity. I mean, check out just their title alone, Alpha. They are going places that we are not going. However, I also discovered too, what's missing is that lack of social and emotional intelligence that balances out their external world. They've only learned externally, only for the most part. You understand? So therefore, there's no social and emotional balance, nothing guiding them uh inward to for of self-awareness, to know themselves. And what the curriculum does, uh and when I discovered that, discovered who they was, it became very apparent. All that work that I did in Mexico, that 52 insights for new, it was never for the audience I intended it for. It was always for Generation Alpha. Had I known that, I probably would have messed it up. But in its pure state, it is for them. That was and is my purpose here, is to, that light is to offer them in that state those tools and necessary to help them navigate their world. We're not going, but we are, I believe, responsible for giving them the tools, the equipment that's necessary to navigate their world. I remember when I was in school, we had classes like home economics and auto mechanics and typing and things like that, kind of got us ready for to navigate the world in which we're going to be in. There's no classes really, and it was a class that you went to, aside from your reading, writing, and arithmetic. I had an opportunity, Llewellyn, to pilot that curriculum. I'm still in Detroit at this time, in 2 middle schools last year. I piloted it, and I'll tell you, it was not easy getting that curriculum into the school system. I tell you, and into the hands of teachers in order to pilot the program. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what is 52. Why is it 52 insights? What is the curriculum? Well, in 2021, I put out an original quote for 50 every Thursday for 52 weeks straight. 52 thus 52 insights. Now, this original quote either came from my books or my blog or my YouTube channel or just straight from meditation. And I put that out. And I brought that together into one presentation. That was 52 insights for living New Earth now, right? And next to the quote, there was a reflection page and something that took them deeper into that quote. I sent them to an audio. I sent it to one of my audios or one of my videos. Okay. So when I discovered that 52 Insights for Living New Earth Now became 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, I created a lesson plan for each one of those quotes. So now they get the quote, they get a deeper dive into the quote, but they also get exercises and practices that for that week. So it's a quote a week, and they're doing practices and exercises that foster mindfulness, self-management, relationship skills, social awareness, and conscious decision making. And what's so beautiful about this is that it is the framework actually for the social and emotional intelligence that was already in schools and globally across the world. There are schools who had or who have a social emotional intelligence component. However, it's more or less that let's be a good character, let's care and share, but this right here is a deeper dive. It serves that population. It serves Generation Alpha in a way that's innovative and impactful and rich in content and it equips them with the tools to navigate the world that they're going. It gives them that balance.
And do you feel, you said it's probably good that you didn't know when you wrote the insights, it's probably good that you didn't know it was going to be for Generation Alpha. And as I'm listening to you and the way you just described a lot of the content that people are exposed to at that age, it sounds like your work is much more respectful and acknowledging their autonomy more. That's the sense I get, that it might just be if it had been written for, in quotes, children. Do you think that's right?
I totally, I love that just came down. Absolutely. It gives them a balance, and because the autonomy that they already have is something that we didn't have. Remember, like I said, they've been clicking and swiping since infancy. They are a different breed. So this needs to be handed to them in a way that's different. And this is what I learned when I piloted out piloting it in 2 middles last year. I learned so much. And the first, one of the main things that I learned is that, and see if you can follow me on this, unconscious can't teach consciousness. You understand?
100%.
Unconscious can't teach consciousness. And so what I witnessed, and I get it, I do. Teachers are putting out, all they do is put out fires all day long. Your administration is coming down on them. It's this way, it's that way. We're dealing with kids who, are coming up out of a pandemic for 2 years. They're already, 2 and 3 grade levels behind in their major core subjects. And then I come in and say, hey, breathe. Meditate. Try this exercise and try that exercise. But teachers cannot take students on a journey that they haven't been on themselves. You understand? Sure, English can teach English, math can teach math, but this is kind of like an auto mechanics class, if you will. The English teacher couldn't teach auto mechanics, right? They taught English, but that auto mechanic teacher specialized in auto mechanics, and he could take them, and hear me say he, already gender based, on that journey, of that understanding. And so this truly is not going to work in the hands of content teachers. This needs to be a class that they go to, someone who has already taken the journey, and this is something, and then they're given the tools in that way, and then taken back out into and utilized in their families, in communities, and in those spaces and platforms that we're not going. The second thing I learned too is that in its state right now, the curriculum is not really marketable or consumable for its target audience. So the beginning of October, I started a class out of the University of San Diego, because I understand that in order for it to be marketable and consumable for its target audience, I have to integrate AI into the curriculum. It is a must. It is so. It just because that's their world. So I'm taking this class right now. I have learned so much. I'm so excited about now integrating AI, and I've come across a very impactful platform and software. It's called adaptive learning, AI adaptive learning, and it will take students, after I integrate my curriculum, it will take students on their own personal, internal, it's not a learning path. I like to call it a journey. Okay. It takes them on their own personal, because everybody from their social emotional intelligence, they're very diverse. Okay. So 52 insights. Get this now. I'm so excited. Uh, will promote a self-directed internal, and see, that's the balance that's lacking, learning path, or as I like to say, journey through personalized lessons from the curriculum according to the Myers-Briggs type indicator theory, right? Which assesses the personality of an individual and suggests that each person is unique in their own self. Therefore, they will take their own unique SEL, social and emotional learning journey.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
Hot. Oh,
Very exciting. Very exciting.
yes.
Well
Yes.
done. I love the way you're continuously learning. You know, at each step you go, all right, so what class do I need now? What research do I need now? And I don't think people always associate rebelliousness with being always open to learning. I think often people think,
Yes.
you know, the rebel is the person who doesn't want to listen, who doesn't want to be told, you know, whereas you've combined the rebelliousness, which says, no, this is my life, with
Mhm.
I'm going to keep learning because this is what I need to do to fulfill what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow. I wish I had a bow and arrow. I mean, talk about hitting the target. Okay. Bullseye. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's very potent, very, very powerful.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
And see,
go.
go ahead. I'm just so excited that I get to take my skill set, which is teaching and lesson planning and curriculum design, and combine it with my purpose, you know,
Yeah.
of that's so fulfilling.
Yeah. And it's perfect because, again, you know, whatever we choose to do with our lives, we've got all these resources to bring to that we might as well bring. So, you know, you're doing something. And honestly, I think the education, certainly in the UK, I'm not as obviously as familiar with it, what it's like over in the US, but certainly in the UK, it needs all the help it can get in terms of supporting people to develop their consciousness. It really does. So when you finish this course and you've then restructured it and created it into this beautiful piece, do you
Yes.
know what you're going to do next?
Oh, listen, I envision, I envision ed tech companies bidding for the curriculum, bidding for it, for on their platform, or buying it, marketing it. I'm going to market it because now it's marketable and I want it out there. I want it global, if at all possible. And here's the thing with that. Yes, it's written in terms of middle and high school students. And remember, Gen Alpha just turned uh, 13 last year. I have a grandson who's 7 years old. He's Generation Alpha. And I would love by the time he get to middle school, they're 12, 13, 14-year-olds, that this curriculum is something that a class that he goes to. But this can also be modified, in the right hands of a tech company, of a curriculum designer. This can be modified all the way down to kinder. Let's start them that early on that, because that's it now. This is where they're going. Let's equip them with the necessary tools to navigate that world, you know, consciously, you know, conscious decision making, you know, and the relationship skills that's lacking just because they've been clicking and swiping since infancy, you know, that social awareness that's lacking because they've been clicking and swiping since infancy. That mindfulness that's lacking because they've been clicking and swiping since infancy. You know, it's so extremely important, and I'm honored that I was rebellious enough, because get this, I could have stayed on the wheel. I could have. I could have stayed easily, just got in line and stayed on the wheel, But had I done that, there would be no 50, there would have not been a 52 insights for living New Earth now. And there certainly would not have been a 52 insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum.
Yeah. Do you think that if someone were to pick up the 52 insights and read it through, do you think that they would be? Do you think that the essence of the spirit of rebelliousness would come through it for them? Do you think there's an essence of rebelliousness in the 52 insights?
Well, see, here's the thing. Absolutely, because this is a journey. This is a year's journey. There's 52 weeks in a year. This is a program. So if you take this journey, and I'm talking adults as well, that was my mind in in the first, it was never meant for those who I intended it for. This was a retirement community, right? Who had signed up to take this soul's journey. But it will definitely, and what a great question. And in the spirit of rebelliousness is absolutely in it, because it's kind of like an awakening for themselves. And awakened just means a remembered state. You remember who you are and why you're here. Let me read the very first quote.
I was going to ask you to actually read one. Fantastic. You read my mind.
The very first quote. And remember, after this comes a reflection or deeper dive in, or exercises and practices for that week. But here's the first week. Here's the quote. The matrix cares not of the quality and purpose of your life here, but only of the quantity and how much you can give over to the system. You owe no one or no thing your life.
Whoa. That makes me want to do that. I don't know why. Do the insights have, body movements with them? So that one made me want to do that.
Did it? Well,
Yeah.
I tell you, it will resonate as far as adults. Absolutely. It's going to click. It's light coded. I almost like to say it's coded with light, because I am a frequency code holder, right? So there's a frequency, there's a bandwidth that's within that, and so it will activate in one, and it will resonate with those who are awakened or who are awakening. It will resonate with them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally felt that. I just felt it
See
all the
there?
way through me. It's very, very strong. So people who are listening and watching this conversation, this wonderful conversation that we're having, obviously they can go to your website. Is there a way that
Yes.
they can, obviously you've got the tab on the website of the 52 Insights.
Absolutely.
So they
But
can,
there's another tab on that. And at this point, it's just kind of giving you some background information on 52 Insights, pretty much telling you what I've told you here. Because remember, it is now in that stage of getting ready to come back out, but now enhanced with AI. But also there's a tab on there for my publications. So the considerations, a guide for moving abroad is on there. Traveling home together, which a lot of this information they're led to throughout the 52 Insights. There's actually a workbook that goes along with this book. Only eight chapters, but those exercises and practices are now from that workbook are now inside that curriculum. There's another book called The Road to Well-Being, which talks about the 6 aspects that make up the totality of our well-being, and how to recognize whether they are healthy or unhealthy, balanced or unbalanced. That's also all of that. Like I said, all that work I did was never intended for the audience I thought it was. It was always for Gen Alpha, and anybody who takes them on that journey, they'll go themselves. But the book itself, 52 Insights, those quotes and everything, it's in a curriculum that is bound for Generation Alpha and marketing through um, that lane.
Oh, fantastic. How exciting. Well, before we wind up, I just want to ask you, would you say something about Fula? What that's
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking. Yes. Okay. Um, 17 days after I buried my mom, I took a trip to the continent of Africa. I'd always wanted to visit Africa, but I was very intentional on where I went. You know, uh, Africa has 54 sovereign countries on that on the continent, 54 sovereign countries. And the most popular, of course, is Ghana and Nigeria. And people go there and say, hey, I've been to Africa. I wanted to be a little bit more intentional when I visited uh, the continent. And it came about, where I went came about through, I don't know, have you ever heard, Llewellyn, of Ancestry.com? Have you ever
Well,
heard of
we have a
that?
thing over here where you can actually get information about your ancestry.
Okay, okay. Well, there in the United States, they have something called Ancestry.com. If you were to take that DNA test, it would tell you you're a little bit of this and you're a little bit of that, and your region is over there. However, over 20 years ago, a group of Black scientists got together and they created the largest database of Black blood in the world. It's called African Ancestry. Now, if you were to take that DNA test, which I did, not only would it tell you what country out of the 54 solvent countries on the continent of Africa that your bloodline originated in, it will also tell you your tribe. So I took that DNA test and discovered on my maternal side that my original bloodline or lineage is that of the Fula people in Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. I never even heard of Guinea-Bissau, right? I mean, just all the other popular ones. But if you have African descent, then more than likely your original lineage, bloodline, is going to fall along that western coast of the continent of Africa, because, of course, that's where the Atlantic slave trade took place. So one of those countries along that western coast, my country, my original maternal bloodline was that of Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And I took a trip there. There are several countries who are participating in something called repatriation. And if you can prove through DNA testing that your original bloodline is that from that country, you can apply for citizenship. And I got with a group who helped lead, guide, and direct me to applying for citizenship, which I did, and it was granted. But also on my birthday, I stepped foot into my ancestral Fula village. Um, and that was an amazing experience for me, because what that meant on my maternal side, Llewellyn, what that meant is that my mother's 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 mother, dating anywhere back from 200, 250 years, she survived the passage.
Mm.
Now, that means she didn't jump off the ship. She didn't die on the ship of sickness. She wasn't killed on the ship. She survived the passage. Now, when she got to the Americas, of course, she got mixed with a whole lot of other different things due to breeding. However, the original bloodline is that of the Fula people from Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. So when I went back, I took everybody back in that respect. And I've become very avid part of when I returned back to the States, I created a nonprofit called Fula History and Genealogy Society. And one of the tenets of that nonprofit is to raise awareness about generational trauma. You know, that generational trauma is held within our DNA. It is research bound. It is proven that we carry through our bloodline, through our lineage, the trauma, generational trauma. But here's the thing: if trauma can be passed down through DNA, then healing can be passed up. You don't even have to be aware of it, but something like that, or just the awareness of that, brings about change through the bloodline. That one of the second tenets of the nonprofit is to create, publish, and promote educational materials for the enhancement of sense of self in Generation Alpha. So you see how that kind of all falls in together under the umbrella of, it just weaved itself in very, so the website, fulaamerican.org, it houses information, of course, about the Fula people, my trip there. Matter of fact, there's a blog on there, and get this, the title of the blog is 16 chapters. The title of the blog is My Soul's Journey Home. And it documents through video and written work and pictures my trip to. There's a video in chapter 7. You will actually see me stepping foot into my ancestral village and being received by the Fula people, by my tribe. That's chapter 7. But while there on the continent, I also went to Egypt, and I spent 2 weeks. I cruised the Nile. And so there's a 16 blog of my experience of visiting the continent of Africa, and hence coming back and creating the nonprofit organization. And 52 Insights fell up under there. Like I said, my books are on there. So that's kind of like home base, that website, and how Fula was birthed.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for that. And it just strikes me that you've been working on the level of the present and the future and the past, and bringing it all together, which is just so beautiful. Because I think it's that everything all weaves together, like you said.
It did. And I love the way you said that. This is the first time I've ever heard it spoken in that way. And I just got chills from the way you said that. You have, future, present and past. You've brought them. I brought them together. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
You've given me a beautiful gift on this 11/11. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. No, I think
that's the first time I've ever heard it said like that.
Well, it just came from what you told me, and I think it's beautiful, the work you've done, and I love the way you've woven everything together. Yeah. And I just wish you all the best with this project. I can't imagine that it's going to be anything other than really successful and very, very exciting.
Oh,
and
thank
of course,
you so much.
These Generation Alpha people are actually going to grow up and have children. Yes. And some of them may start teaching the 52 Insights and whatever is birthed out of that. So I feel like there's many generations to come that could really benefit from this as it evolves.
Ripples.
Yeah, ripples. So exciting. So exciting. So before we wind up completely, I want to ask you a couple of things. So the first one is, you're obviously out there doing what you're doing and contributing and creating and to help raising the level of consciousness on this planet. There are other people with equivalent kind of missions out there. Mm-hmm. And some of those people are going to be listening to this show or watching this show. Is there something you'd like to say to them in particular?
I want to say to them, if you are not doing that, if you have this feeling that there's something more, that in you, and this just can't be all that it is, then I beseech you. I beseech, and you're absolutely right. It is not. You know, I beseech you to take a look and to go inward. Because if you're feeling this, that's your soul crying out to you. Your soul is crying because your soul knows. And your soul will tell you. And the only way you're going to align with your true purpose here, your true purpose, you're going to align with that, is going within. And that's through meditation. And I know meditation is difficult. I mean, no one can just sit and meditate. However, I would suggest to you, I would recommend to you that you start off with a guided meditation. I just didn't start meditating. I went in through, you have to be guided inward. You just can't go. It's a little bit too complicated in there, you know, just to, just go in. You have to be guided in, and your soul's waiting for you. And there's different apps and YouTube videos that will guide you. And if you would just maybe look at the titles, you know, look at the title, something will resonate with you, something will click with you, and you'll try that one. So I suggest that I recommend that you start meditating through guided meditation. And there will come a time when your soul self will say, I got her from here, or I got him from here. And then the deeper you go in, all those answers and those questions and your purpose, they're not going to give it to you all at once. Who could? You know, no telling how they'll give it to you. But I promise you, all those cooperating components will come together and will weave together for you your true purpose here. And if you're not walking in your true purpose, you're more than likely being ego driven. You know, that it's either your ego or it's your soul self. And I know it feels very normal to be ego driven, you know. But I suggest to you to meet your soul self through guided meditation and connect and align with your true purpose. That's what I would like to leave your audience with.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. So we've spoken about so much today. It's been fascinating. Has there been a favorite part of our conversation for you today?
I tell you, it's going to take me right back to what you've given me today. There was a gift you gave me. I had never, no one, and I've been on many, 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 many podcasts, but no one had either talking about Fula, talking about 52 insights, or moving to Mexico. You know, there's different topics. But for the first time, the way you wove that together for me, it was a gift. That was my favorite part. It just kind of, it lit me up inside that, wow, I never heard it said like that or presented like that back to me. So I want to thank you. Thank you for that.
My honor. Thank you so much. It's been an incredible window into a magical life. And so thank you so much today for coming. And I don't need to wish you well with it because I know it's just going to be fantastic. So thank you so, so much.
So welcome. I'm honored.
So thank you so much, listeners and viewers, for joining Queen Michele and myself today. That's all for Truth and Transcendence for today. I really do appreciate it if you give a 5-star rating wherever it is that you're watching or listening, and tell your friends. And do check in on fulaamerican.org, F-U-L-A American.org, and check out Queen's amazing work. And let's just watch this space together and have a fantastic week. And I'll see you next time. And thanks again, Queen Michele.
Thank you.